Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which I am today is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Thank you for taking the time to let us tell you about what is happening to millions of Uyghurs that are invisible behind the curtain of the Beijing Games. My name is Kevser and I am Uyghur. I am from East Turkestan, currently called by the Chinese government as Xinjiang, which literally translates to new territory or newfound land. Our lands were completely taken over by the Chinese in 1949. It is now in the northwest portion of present day China. We had a small amount of autonomy and freedom to practice our religion, culture, and speak our language. But following riots in 2009, the Chinese government reinforced their policies designed to create a single state race. And this is exactly the opposite of a society where diversity is valued and respected. Everything I'm about to tell you is supported by living testimonies, reports of human rights organizations, satellite photos, and Chinese state documents. Canada's parliament has declared that China's actions constitute genocide, as defined in the UN Genocide Convention. The Chinese government's goal, as stated by one party official, is to, quote, destroy them root and branch. This means our religion, our culture, our language, and our existence as people different from the Chinese. Even the land itself will be taken as our numbers decline and Chinese settlers are brought in to replace us. Our cities are covered with the most extensive surveillance systems in the world. Checkpoints are placed every 100 meters. It is impossible to move anywhere in a city or town and not be recorded on camera. We're required to register at police stations where we're photographed and must provide voice and DNA samples. The images are used by AI systems, some developed with the aid of Canadian researchers and universities, to track us. The audio recordings identify us in our cell phone conversations, and when we're taken into detention, DNA identifies our family and relatives. According to leaked official documents from the Chinese government, over 6 million of us have been arbitrarily incarcerated in concentration camps between 2014 and 2019, and this number continues to grow to this day. And we're talking about prisons where people are being brainwashed, tortured, and raped into loyalty to the Chinese state. They're also the source of forced laborers who are dispersed across China, where they do everything from harvesting cotton for your clothes to manufacturing electronics for your cell phones. But Beijing's goal really is to destroy us root and branch. There are monthly quotas for the forced sterilization of women between the ages of 14 and 60. These women must report for regular examinations to ensure that their IUD is in place. According to Chinese statistics, the Uyghur birth rate fell 50% between 2017 and 2019. When a husband or wife is incarcerated, the remaining family must host a Chinese boarder. So this person submits daily reports on what is being said and done in the house, paying particular attention to whether Uyghur spoken or religious rituals are observed. Like in Stalinist Russia, a child's comment can result in friends or families disappearing into the gulag of re-education camps. Now, worse than that, because the homes are small, the boarders share a bed with the remaining parent, which are usually women, or with the children. And boarders who are paid by the state receive a bonus if they marry an Uyghur, and therefore diluting the Uyghur group's identity. As a last act of destruction, Beijing has created residential boarding schools, which really are state run orphanages for children as young as infants. Worse even than in Canada, once a child enters, they're permanently removed from their family. An infant never really learns its heritage, and the memory of it is disciplined out of older children. While the parents mourn for the loss of their child or children, the stolen children resent their parents for not saving them. Two Uyghur survivors will tell you their stories with a voiceover in English, and then we'll ask you to consider some ways of responding.
Greetings to all our Olympic friends. My name is Omerbek Ali. I was born in East Turkestan's Turpan city. I have emigrated from East Turkestan's Karame city to Kazakhstan in 2006. I worked in the field of tourism and business in Kazakhstan. On March the 26th of 2017, I was kidnapped by the Chinese authorities while visiting Urumqi city and held for a period of 8 months in the death camps, the so-called vocational school system. I was subjected to torture and hunger and beatings. I have seen other inmates taken away, never to be seen again. We inmates were all subjected to thorough medical examinations every month. All of us inmates were subjected to unimaginable cruelty and torture inside the camps. I am a witness to this. I was a successful entrepreneur in Kazakhstan, doing some textile commerce. I speak fluently 3 languages. I was also vice chair of the tourist agency. I was actively involved in cultural, economic cooperation, and development exchanges of Kazakhstan as vice director of this firm. While visiting Urumqi on a business-related trip, I was illegally detained and became a witness of the horrific situation which was happening inside these camps. Right now, China is accusing me of terrorism by putting a hat of terrorist on me. Like in 1936, when Nazi Germany was hosting an Olympic Games and trying to cover up its genocide of the Jewish people, China is preparing to host the Olympics in 2022 and is in full mode of its propaganda efforts. I hope and appeal to all Canadian and international athletes not to participate and become complicit in these genocide games, because your participation will mean your consent to the ongoing genocide that is taking place in East Turkestan. You will become a supporter of this cruel Chinese regime's policies. I appeal to all international athletes to listen to our testimonies, the testimonies of concentration camp survivors, and not take part in the Olympic Games of genocide.
My name is Gulbahar Jalilova. I, my family, and my ancestors are all Uyghurs born in Kazakhstan. I visited Urumqi, East Turkestan for the first time in 1996 and have made a small business bringing goods from there to Kazakhstan. On May 22, 2017, I was visiting Urumqi and was captured from my hotel by 5 police. I was taken to a place where I was interrogated for 15 hours, where they demanded I sign papers in Uyghur and Chinese, neither of which I understood. I asked for Kazakh consular support, and this was denied. I was held over the whole time of my imprisonment under a false name so that consular officials could not locate me when my contacts reported me missing. I was taken to a prison where I was held in shackles weighing 5 kilos. I underwent a medical examination, including a urine test for pregnancy. I was later told by other inmates that when they tested positive, they were immediately forced to have an abortion. Over the time I was in prison, I was with others ranging from 14 to 80 years old. In prison, we were all forced to take medication and have injections with no explanation. We had no running water. We slept on metal beds. We got fleas and skin sores and our hair was shaved. We all wore leg irons of about 5 kilos. Some of the young women had their hands chained to their feet so they could not stand straight. I was interrogated in two types of cells, one with cameras and one without. In both cases, they demanded I sign documents I couldn't read or understand. In the cell with no camera, I was held in a chair for 24 hours with no food or water. I was beaten and electrocuted. I was forced to perform sexual acts that I will not describe. I was raped 4 times while in the prison. I pleaded with them to kill me. Girls in my cell were also taken out. Sometimes they returned telling of their torture, including gang rape and having their fingernails pulled out with pliers. Sometimes they did not return at all. Some came into the cells saying they were given death sentences. After some months, they were taken away under black hoods and not seen again. I was released, I think, because of advocacy in Kazakhstan. I had lost 20 kilos. My hair grew back white. They fed me for a week and dyed my hair before releasing me. They told me to remain silent because China has long arms and they could always reach me. If I talked, they would reach me and kill me anywhere in the world. I fled to Turkey, where I was constantly harassed in person and over the telephone by Chinese agents. They were so open that the Turkish police asked who is following me. I live in constant fear. After 2 years, I gained asylum in France and have not been threatened there. My children are still in Kazakhstan.
Hello, my name is Mehliya Chetinkaya and I'm an Uyghur. You've seen what is happening in China, actions that parliaments and legislatures in Canada, the United States, the UK, New Zealand, and others have recognized as a genocide. That's why Beijing 2022 is often referred to as the Genocide Games. When Hitler and the Nazi Party wanted to create a spectacle that would improve their image all around the world, they did it by coopting the IOC and the Olympics. Xi is doing the same, although he no doubt is thinking of his domestic audience of Chinese citizens who will watch as the world comes and parades in the opening and closing ceremonies in front of him and members of the Chinese Communist Party. At the same time as the Nazi Games were taking place, synagogues were being destroyed, teaching books were burned, and people were imprisoned. In China, mosques are being destroyed, teaching the Quran is outlawed, and over 1 million Uyghurs are being held in brutal re-education camps. And children are being taken from their homes and families to be indoctrinated in residential schools where their own language and customs are forbidden. In Germany, Jews in the camps were pressed into slave labor in armaments factories. In China, Uyghurs in camps are doing slave labor in Chinese factories, and especially in the cotton fields where the results of their work are on the clothes on your back. Regardless of what an individual athlete thinks about keeping politics out of sports, by participating in China's Olympic spectacle, they'll be colluding in the Chinese government's efforts to whitewash its genocide project. You can't separate being an athlete from being human. If you are indigenous, you can look to the Uyghurs and understand the depossession from the land, the destruction of language and culture, and the theft of children. If you are a Jew, you know what it is happening now is the start of the march to the death camps. If you are racialized in your own country, you know what it is to be excluded, persecuted, and disadvantaged for no reason other than what you see when you look in the mirror. Today, we are all Uyghurs. What is remembered about the athletes who competed in Berlin is not their scores or their medals, but the fact they took part in Hitler's games. We ask you to consider not going to Beijing to prevent your honest work from being bent to these evil ends. At the very least, please do not attend the opening and closing ceremonies. Think of the message it would send if your national flag went out on the field and no athletes followed. The Olympic broadcasting service would capture it. Your national broadcaster would send the image home. This is all allowed under the Rule 50 regulations. Regardless of what you do, thank you for taking the time to see our message.